February 4th, 2026. 9:47 p.m. Hawthorne, California. A one-bedroom apartment. Blinds drawn. The blue glow of a phone screen is the only light in the room. Derek Kella, 42 years old, sits alone on the edge of his bed. He opens an app. Not a banking app. Not a messaging app anyone in his life would recognize. A burner number generator, the kind built to make a phone call vanish into digital fog before it ever rings. He types, "Did you get the Bitcoin? We are waiting on our end for the transaction." He hits send. 1,100 miles away, in Tucson, Arizona, that message lands on the phone of Nancy Guthrie. Her mother, Nancy, has been missing for 3 days. Her husband, Tommaso, is standing beside her when the notification buzzes. For one suspended moment, the kind of moment a family living inside a nightmare clings to, there is hope. Maybe this is real. Maybe this is the break. Maybe someone knows where Nancy is. In Hawthorne, Derek Kella leans back. He is not waiting for a location. He is not waiting for a rescue. He is waiting to see if it works. That is the gap this story lives in. On one side of a phone screen, a daughter, gripping hope like a lifeline. On the other side, a man treating her mother's abduction like a slot machine. The FBI did not take 3 months to find him. They did not take 3 weeks. They had Derek Kella in handcuffs within 72 hours. Under Miranda, sitting in an interview room, he admitted what he'd done almost immediately. Then, silence. He pled not guilty. For 5 months, he said nothing else. No deals. No statements. No movement. And then, this week, without warning, Derek Kella walked into a federal courtroom and changed his plea to guilty. Here's what you need to understand before we go one sentence further. In federal court, a plea change at the 11th hour is never a spontaneous confession of conscience. It is a calculated move. Something changed. A deal was struck, new evidence surfaced, or a man staring down decades decided honesty was the only currency he had left to spend. Which one is it? And more urgently, what does his guilty plea tell us about the person who is still out there, holding the real answer to where Nancy Guthrie is? 2 threads. 2 very different people. Do not let them blur. To understand what Derek Kella did, you have to rewind 2 days before he ever picked up his phone. February 2nd, 2026. One day after Nancy Guthrie vanished from her Tucson home, a ransom note lands, not with police, but with TMZ and local Tucson television stations. The demand, $4 million, payable in Bitcoin. This note is not a bluff. It contains information that was never released publicly, the exact clothing Nancy was wearing the night she disappeared, and the precise location of her Apple Watch, white band, left behind on her bedroom floor. Details like that don't come from guesswork. They come from someone who was inside that house. This is the real note. Written, investigators believe, by the actual people responsible for Nancy's disappearance. February 4th. 2 days later, Derek Kella, a man with no ties to Tucson, no criminal record, and no connection whatsoever to the Guthrie family, reads the news coverage. The ransom demand is public. The family's grief is public. And in an era where public records can hand you a phone number in under 10 minutes, Kella pulls Annie and Tommaso's contact information and starts typing. The FBI has a specific term for what Derek Kella is. Not a kidnapper. Not a conspirator. A grief profiteer, someone who inserts himself into an active tragedy purely to extract money from people too devastated to immediately question every incoming message. And here's the part that should make you angry. During the most critical hours of a live abduction case, the so-called golden window, when leads are freshest and every agent hour matters, federal resources had to be diverted to run down Kella's fake trail. Verify it. Rule it out. Confirm it wasn't connected. That is time stolen from the search for Nancy. Now sit with this detail, because it is the ugliest piece of the entire case. Derek Kella didn't just text. He called. From his anonymized number, he dialed Annie's phone directly. The call connected. And it rang for 9 seconds before he hung up. 9 seconds. Think about what 9 seconds means to a daughter whose mother has been missing for 3 days. 9 seconds of a phone ringing with a blocked number is an eternity of maybe this is her, maybe this is news, maybe this is over. And then it's nothing. Just a deadline and a woman staring at a screen, back where she started, except now a little more hollowed out than before. That's the profile of Derek Kella. Not a monster with a plan. A man who understood exactly how much pain a stranger's silence could cause, and did it anyway. Now, the legal mechanics, because this is where the story stops being simple. Kella's trial was scheduled for June 23rd. That date came and went, quietly converted into something else entirely, a change of plea hearing, held July 2nd, in a federal courtroom in Tucson. In federal court, there are really only 2 roads that lead to a last-minute guilty plea like this. Road 1 is the straightforward one. The evidence against him was never in question, his own recorded Miranda admission all but sealed his fate the day he gave it. His attorneys likely ran the math. A guilty plea, framed as remorse and cooperation, is the only path toward a reduced sentence. No jury needed. No risk of a maximum sentence. Handed down by 12 strangers who've read about a missing woman named Nancy Guthrie for 5 months straight. Road 2 is the one that should make you lean forward. It's called a 5K 1.1 cooperation agreement, a formal deal where a defendant trades information for leniency. Substantial assistance, in the language of federal sentencing guidelines. It's the tool prosecutors use when a person sitting in custody knows something they want. Ask yourself, what would a grief profiteer, a man who trawled public news coverage for a payday, actually know? He wasn't at the house. He wasn't part of the abduction. But men like Kella live in a specific digital underworld, anonymizing apps, encrypted number generators, the fringe crypto forums where these kinds of tools get traded and discussed. Did he see something there? Hear a name, a handle, a boast, in the corners of the internet where people assume no one is watching. We don't know yet. But a guilty plea after 5 months of silence is not a confession. It's a transaction. And transactions in federal court almost always mean someone got something in return. While Kella's case moved through the courts, something far bigger was happening quietly in the background, and on June 22nd, CBS News confirmed it. Investigators now believe the 2 original ransom notes, the real ones, sent before Kella ever entered the picture, came from the same secure, anonymized server infrastructure. Same source. Same author or authors. Confirmed authentic. And the content of that second note is where this case turns from a kidnapping into something psychologically far stranger. The first note was personal, almost intimate in its cruelty. Hello, Savannah. We have your mother Nancy. Direct. Addressed to Nancy's daughter, the nationally recognized journalist, by name. The second note reads like something else entirely. We never intended to hurt her. She perished shortly after she was taken. She was buried with nature. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome, and we are truly sorry. Read that again. She perished. Not she died. Not we killed her. Perished, a word choice forensic linguists flag immediately, because it is not how native English speakers typically phrase catastrophic loss in real time. It's formal. Almost literary. The kind of word you'd get from a translation engine reaching for the nearest dictionary synonym, or from AI-generated text smoothing rough language into something oddly composed. Buried with nature. Not buried in the desert. Not a location. A phrase of vague, almost poetic, engineered to sound peaceful rather than criminal. Is the remorse in that note real? Or is it strategic, language built by someone who understands that sorry and nothing you could have done reads better in a future courtroom, in front of a future jury, than the alternative? Empathy can be genuine. It can also be armor. Right now, investigators don't know which one they're dealing with. And that uncertainty is exactly why this case remains unsolved. While the FBI works the digital trail, servers, blockchain ledgers, encrypted metadata, a retired homicide detective is working an entirely different angle. Chris McDana, of the Cold Case Foundation, has built what he calls the contact point theory. It doesn't start with a hacker in a hidden forum. It starts with a workshop. Annie's Jewelry Workshop sits in a part of Tucson known for high crime and a visible fentanyl crisis. It's also a place of genuine charity. Annie has spent time there helping formerly incarcerated individuals find footing, a mission that speaks well of who she is. But McDana's theory asks a harder question. Did someone in that environment, someone cycling through addiction, instability, desperation, overhear a detail? A family name. A conversation about a sister who's a wealthy national journalist. A house address mentioned in passing. It doesn't take a mastermind to target a family. It takes one person listening at the wrong moment. Then there's the geography, and it's strange enough to matter. 3 Walmarts sit within 2 miles of that workshop. On doorbell camera footage tied to the investigation, a suspect is seen carrying an Ozark Trail 25L backpack, a specific, mass-produced Walmart product. Not proof, but a thread. A local thread, grounded in a physical neighborhood, not a server rack. And that's where the frustration sets in. 144 days into this investigation, the Pima County Sheriff's Department and Tucson PD's Bravo units still haven't fully synchronized their street-level informant networks with the case. Cold cases across this country have historically broken not because of a blockchain trace or a lab result, but because someone on a street corner finally decided to talk. Right now, that channel is underused. And every day it stays that way is a day this case leans harder on digital forensics that take months to mature, while the people who might actually know something walk past investigators unasked. Day 144. Derek Kella is behind bars, his plea entered, his role in this story finished. And that matters, because it means the FBI's full attention, the resources that were briefly diverted chasing a fake extortionist, are now completely, permanently locked onto the real senders of those 2 authentic notes. So if you are the person who wrote those words, if you are the one who typed "she perished shortly after she was taken," understand exactly what surrounds you right now. Your server infrastructure is in FBI hands. Every Bitcoin wallet connected to that ransom demand is being audited, transaction by transaction, wallet address by wallet address, by analysts trained to make anonymous crypto talk. Forensic evidence from that scene is sitting at Quantico. And more than 50,000 tips have poured in from a public that has not stopped watching this case for a single day. You are being hunted by people with more patience than you have. If even a fragment of what you wrote was true, if there is any part of you that meant "we are truly sorry," there is exactly one way to end this. Not through another anonymous note. Not through another burner number. Call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Or go to tips.fbi.gov. Anonymously, if that's what it takes. But end it. Because somewhere in Tucson, a family is still living inside the sentence "nothing you could have done," without a single piece of proof that it's true. Nancy Guthrie went to Mass. She tended a garden. She was, by every account of the people who loved her, an ordinary woman living an ordinary life, until 3 days changed everything, and a ransom note turned her into a name the whole country now knows. There is a $1.2 million reward sitting on this case right now, untouched, waiting for one person to make one phone call. Someone knows where Nancy Guthrie is. The only question left is how much longer they're willing to let a family wait for an answer they've already promised to give.